Hey everyone, welcome back to the 22-23 school year. I'm Greg Odell and I'm one of your e-learning specialists, and I'm joined by
Danica Boykin, your other e-learning specialist.
So if we haven't met you, we look forward to meeting you, and we look forward to a great school year working with all of you BLaST leaders. So we wanted to start this video by introducing you to our primary means of communication with BLaST leaders, and that means of communication is Microsoft Teams. So you can see here on the screen that I'm sharing, this is our Microsoft Teams interface, if you will. And those of you who've been BLaST leaders before, you know that this, where it says, let's get the conversation started, you know that this conversation will be full in no time. So Teams is a great way for you to reach out in real time if you have a question for other BLaST teams to answer, or if Danica or I can help you with something. We generally try to monitor this very closely, and then you have some other resources across the top there that Danica is going to share with you now.
Thanks, Greg. So at the top of your Teams, you're going to see some things that are pinned. And we're not going to go through all of these right now, but when you're in, you can click around and discover them. What we want to take a few minutes and point out to you, though, is the BLaST 22-23 link. This is going to open up a Google folder that we share. And as you can see, as this loads, there are multiple subfolders in here for district purchases or district initiatives that we support. And within these folders, we try to keep up-to-date references and resources for you and for your teachers. Now notice I said we try to. We're actively updating these as we can, but as you know, with any technology, there are updates all the time. So this will be a place, a resource for you and your teachers that you can go and look for information on products as well. And I'll also note that this link to get to BLaST 22-23 resource folder is public. So once you open it, you can share that link out with other people through an email if you'd like. So this is a mechanism where they can also look and come and help themselves as well. So as we spend a little more time during this video today, we want to give you kind of an update on where we are with things like Launchpoint. We'll also spend some time today talking about Canvas and teacher tools, and we look forward to a new school year with you, and we want to go ahead and thank you for your time and your effort in making BLaST successful at your school this year.
Hey everyone, in this chapter, we're going to be building off of the conversations that we had with BLaST leaders in the spring. And we know some of you are new BLaST leaders, so we certainly want to put a reminder out there in regards to Launchpoint. So just a reminder, the URL for Launchpoint, it can still be accessed at go.halco.org. So once you go there and log in, students and teachers, they should be brought to their Launchpoint dashboard. And just a reminder for you to have a conversation with your BLaST team about what is on Launchpoint. Make sure teachers are aware of the resources available to them and what they are and what their instructional purposes are, and how those resources can best help them and their students in their classroom. Also want to have a conversation with your BLaST team about anything that might need to be removed from Launchpoint. Any old apps or any things that were created for meant to be temporary that maybe didn't get removed. And if you need any help with that, please let Danica or I know. Also, just some updates in regards to software. We've had some changes over the summer with some of these companies rebranding and that type of thing. So one of the first ones is Flipgrid. You'll notice when you search for Flipgrid, you're going to see Flip, and we tried to put a little descriptor there in the tile name, formerly Flipgrid, but Flipgrid is now just Flip. It has a new icon, so if your teachers and teammates are looking for Flipgrid, it is now called Flip, and that change is now reflected on Launchpoint. We have a pending change also with USA Test Prep, and you'll notice that USA Test Prep is still kind of listed the same on Launchpoint because we're waiting for the vendor to tell us when that branding change is going to happen. But USA Test Prep is now called Progress Learning. So you may see that switch over time. In the first month or two of school, the tile will change and the name of uh, the app will change, and we'll certainly try to communicate that. Just wanted to give you a heads up that may be on the way. The next change that we want to make you aware of is with one of our current subscriptions, and that's called Nearpod. So for Nearpod, the change this year is that we purchased a Premium Plus package, and we had teachers asking for some of these features that you see listed here. Specifically, I'll point out the co-teaching and the live annotation features. Those should now be available to us in Nearpod for us to use as needed. And then the last reminder for Launchpoint and software updates is about Lucid. And you'll notice when you search for Lucid, you won't find it on Launchpoint unless someone has added it back themselves. But Lucid was not renewed for 22-23 based on usage data and just conversations in the district with around the usage of Lucid. So we just wanted to remind you of that change. And those are the Launchpoint and software updates for back to school. Any questions around these, please reach out to Danica or I. Thank you.
Moving forward in our video, the next several chapters are going to be related to Canvas. In this chapter, we're going to talk specifically about Canvas admin features to help you with management. Those are Commons groups and teacher sites. So as you can see right now, I'm logged into Canvas, and if I click on Commons, it's going to open a new tab, and yours will look something similar to this. You all should have admin rights into Commons. If you do not see this field, please send an email to eLearning, and Greg and I will get that squared away for you. Once you're inside admin, you should be able to click on groups and see your school represented. Right now we're seeing more than that you would see, but we're going to use Cherokee Bluff High School as an example. So when you open up your group, you're going to see a list of members in this group. One of the things that you can do management-wise is to clean up or delete users that are no longer in your building. So if you see any users in here that are no longer in your building, you can click on this button here, and this will remove their Canvas Commons account from your school. This does not delete their Canvas account. It just moves their membership out of this Commons group. Another thing that we would like to ask you all to do, BLaST leaders, is to add any new members or new teachers that you have to your Commons group. To do that, you can simply type their name in this box and then click Add. One thing to note is that if you type someone's name in and they do not populate, what that means is that person, that user, has not clicked on Commons and authorized yet. So that will be something to note with your new teachers. Have them log into Canvas, click on Commons, and authorize the use of it. Once they do that, you will be able to add them to your group. The other thing that from a management standpoint that we would like for you guys to help facilitate and clean up is going to be the visibility of teacher sites. We did briefly touch on this in the spring when we visited end of the year procedures with BLaST leaders, but we wanted to just touch it again as we're in the beginning of the year, and sometimes things change and shift over the summer. So from your admin panel, you will click this and click on your school's name. And from there, you can click on teacher sites, and you will see something similar to my screen. Once again, it's not going to be exact, but you will see under teacher sites a manage area. And in this manage area, you will be able to see a list of teachers that have a teacher site that's affiliated with your school. And what you can do in this area is toggle on and off the visibility. So if you have someone that's listed and their site is published for your school and they are no longer at your school, you can simply turn the visibility off and they will no longer populate on the public site under your school. If you have any questions about either one of these management items, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Hey everyone, this chapter is all things teacher tools. So we want to discuss the importance of using teacher tools. And if you'll remember, teacher tools was introduced in the 21-22 school year. And as the year went on, we saw how important it was for a teacher to use teacher tools to create their courses and roster their students via those interoperable tools within teacher tools. So we can't overstate enough. We need teachers to use teacher tools to roster their courses in Canvas. It's going to give them the opportunities for things like the Mastery Connect integration. It's going to give them the opportunity to use grade passback between Canvas and Infinite Campus. So we strongly encourage the use of teacher tools. So this chapter is also going to be kind of broken into parts, if you will. I'm going to discuss just how to access teacher tools and the teacher profile part of teacher tools. And then we will also get into course creation and the options for bringing in content. Then I'll turn it over to Danica for how to roster your courses with teacher tools, as well as grade passback. So before we jump into the live environment, I do want to share just two resources that we have for you, and we will walk through these in the live environment as well. But they're two blog posts, and they're linked below the video. But the first one is titled Getting Started with Canvas Teacher Tools. If you were in Hall County last year, you probably saw this post, and we've tweaked it a little bit to make it apply to this year. But it just kind of walks teachers through the workflow in using teacher tools. So how to access. First step is to update or create your profile, which then surfaces on teacher sites, creating a course, editing an existing course, rostering, and then a link to the full teacher tool support guide. So each of these sections are like accordions, and they have little video clips or GIFs that will allow the user to see in Canvas where we're talking about accessing this information. So that's the getting started with Canvas teacher tools. Again, we'll walk through these steps together in just a moment. The other blog post we want to draw your attention to that's available for you to use as a resource is the 22-23 Canvas course creation post. We have this one sort of segmented by levels, and each level has different categories that we feel like our teachers kind of fall in our elementary schools. So if you're a traditional elementary teacher, you would click this link, and it takes you to the steps necessary to create your course. So one, create your course. Two, import your content and all the options associated with importing your content. And then lastly would be to enroll your students. So again, we're going to walk through these. Again, this is most of our elementary schools. We do have 5 elementary schools who are using the new Canvas for Elementary interface. So these directions are different, and they're for you if you're one of those 5 schools who are using the Canvas for Elementary interface. So I encourage you to make sure if you're an elementary teacher, make sure you're using the correct set of directions. Next, we have our middle and high school teachers, our teacher directions, and not as many scenarios here, but the directions are very similar. And again, this presentation will take you through those steps in creating your courses. For each of these accordion sections, you'll notice there is a link to the full screen presentation for each of these. Just want to draw your attention to that. So if you need to re-deliver this to your teammates, there is an option for full screen for this presentation as well. Works the same, it's just a little bit bigger version than what's on the blog post. So next, and the last thing on this post is just a link back to that other blog post, Getting Started with Teacher Tools, that we talked about earlier, because you have to start here because you have to take care of things like your teacher profile before you can actually create a course. So those are 2 blog posts that we have available, again, linked below. to help support your redelivery of this content to your teammates in your school. All right, so now let's walk through some of the content that's in these blog posts in a live environment. So I'm going to switch over to Canvas. You will access teacher tools through the main nav bar in Canvas here in the bottom left. Now, if one of your teammates comes and says, I do not see teacher tools on my Canvas, that most likely means that they do not have an active teaching role in a Canvas course. So that's why we say it's a good idea for you as a BLaST leader just to have a sandbox course that you can enroll a teacher in as a teacher, so that will then give them access to teacher tools. Okay, if they have an active teaching role in Canvas, they will be able to see teacher tools. So they would access it just by clicking, and then they're going to see a list of their active courses. They'll see things like my profile and add a course. Now, you may notice that some of them have a little indicator on their My Profile, and their Add a Course button might be grayed out. So Teacher Tools is designed to encourage teachers to visit their profile, either, of course, for the first time to publish a profile onto teacher sites, or to just revisit their profile each year to make any updates, or at least look at it and say, yep, it's still right, and they can mark it as updated. Once they mark it as updated or publish it for the first time, then that should clear any of those flags that have popped up on their profile, and then their Add a Course button should become active. Okay, so if somebody's Add a Course is grayed out, the first thing I would do is have them check their profile to make sure they've updated it or created it for the first time. All right, so we are clear there. So we've handled the My Profile part of this this blog post, if you will, and just some things, and you may have guidance for your teachers of what to include in their profile. And the next step would be to create a course. So we're going to go back to Canvas, click on Create a Course. First thing they'll need to do is to name their course, and we encourage each of our schools to have a naming convention for your Canvas courses, and that typically includes the teacher's last name and maybe the subject, something along those lines, maybe even the school year. That's totally up to you as a school. So I'm just giving you an example of what a course name could look like with a naming convention. We just encourage you to have a naming convention. And then the short name is just like a course nickname, and that can be whatever the teacher prefers. Then they have to select a school. So I'm going to put this course at Chestnut Mountain, and I'm going to click create, excuse me. And so now you see the course that I've created, the short code that I put in, the school I placed it at, the grade level and department, that's coming over from what I put in my teacher profile. So that should match whatever's in your teacher site. So now from here, Teacher Tools is encouraging the teacher to bring in some content to their course. Now, if you look at one of the blog posts, I'm going to open the middle and high. So we are on the teacher version here. So we've already done step 1. We are now on step 2 here. So you have at least 3 different options for bringing in content to your Canvas course once you have it created. So to do that, you could choose to associate to a Blueprint course. So all of our courses that we have blueprinted are available here for you to search for. For example, if I'm an ELA teacher and I wanted to bring in an ELA course, I could do so just by searching ELA. Or if I'm a world lit teacher, or world history for that matter, you can just search for the keyword that you need to find. All right, and there are multiple search terms you could put in for that. If you select one of these courses, it's going to give you a pop-up and tell you you're about to bring in all the content that's associated with this Blueprint course. And it even tells you that some of the items may be locked and cannot be edited. But the content will be brought in. You'll be able to decide what gets published and what doesn't to your students. and you'll be able to edit things to an extent. Also, if any updates are made by the content specialist, those updates are going to flow automatically to this course. So there's nothing that you have to do. The updates just happen. So I've associated this course to my course, and now I have the option, and that's what we're trying to explain here. I can teach from this blueprinted course, so I could then, I could then move into rostering from this course, which Danica is going to talk to you about in a few minutes. Or I could just kind of keep this course set off to the side to use it as a reference course. So then I would create another course that I was actually going to put my students in, and I would just use this associated blueprint course as a reference to bring content in from as needed. Some people like that, so they don't have to put all the content in the course they're using with their students, but it does result in an additional course just kind of sitting there on your Canvas dashboard. A third option would be to not use any sort of blueprint, but rather use Commons. So I'm going to go back to my courses here, and I'm just going to pick a fake course that I have here. You can see no blueprint is associated here, but I have a link to Commons. So from here, I can click Commons, and it's going to take me to what we call the district approved Commons content. And here I could, again, do a keyword search for what I'm looking for, or if I know the content specialist's name that I want to find the content from, I could search that way, and then I could just bring in pieces of content as needed. So here's where I could import the content. It's going to ask me which course I want to bring it into and that kind of thing. So rather than associating to a large blueprint course, I could decide to bring in just pieces of content from Commons. It's kind of a trade-off, though. If you go the blueprint route, you will receive updates automatically, where if you choose to use Commons, the teacher will have to kind of go and get any updates that are pushed out. So just keep that in mind as you decide how you want to bring content into your course. Okay, so that's the Commons option. Another thing to consider with bringing content into your course is many of you may have content that you want to bring in from, say, a course you used last year, and that would be done outside of Teacher Tools. So you would open the course that you want to, the new course that you've built that you want to bring content into, and then you would just use the import feature on the settings area of the course to import content from last year. So think about the best way that you want to encourage teachers to bring in content to their course for this year using Teacher Tools. So with that, I believe that's all I wanted to cover. Yes, and I'm going to turn it over to Danica to speak with you about rostering and grade pass back. So thank you.
All right, so this chapter of our video is going to focus on using teacher tools to roster your students in. And we're going to talk about a brand new feature this year called Grade Passback and how to prepare Canvas for grade passback in the near future. We'll go over what that means and what you can do to help your teachers prepare for this option that will be available. Like Greg stressed in the chapter before, we are highly encouraging teachers to roster their students into their courses from Teacher Tools. Not only is this going to allow Infinite Campus to automatically update users and the students in your classes overnight, but it's going to help teachers be able to do things like take advantage of the Mastery Connect integration with Canvas, and as I just mentioned, have the option to use Grade Passback if they choose. So I know we just keep saying it, but we can't stress enough, please have your teachers roster their students into their Canvas courses using teacher tools. So what I have pulled up right now is the blog post that Greg was referring to earlier, and we've made it down to this part right here, rostering. So Greg went through updating the profile, how to create a course. He went in depth with how to add content to your course, and he referenced a blog post on that. And now we're going to come right down here into rostering. So on the blog post, you can see we have some screenshots and we have some directions on how to roster. From here, I'm going to jump over into the live environment of Canvas and just walk through some of this. So what you can see here is I'm inside of Teacher Tools. And right now, my course, I'm in Content. And this is the area that Greg focused mainly on in the last chapter. What I'm going to do now is talk to you about the next tab, Rostering. And like I said, this is where we would like and we are encouraging all teachers to bring their students into Canvas. What teachers will do at this point is they're going to see where they can bring in aligned sections. This is a direct connection to Infinite Campus and it's updated nightly. When a teacher clicks on this plus button, they're going to be presented with a pop-out menu that's going to list all of their sections, and they can choose those to add to a course. The beauty of this is you can add multiple sections to the same course. So if you teach the same subject several times a day, you can add all of those students. Or if you teach one subject and you have multiple rosters, like a special ed roster, migrant roster, gifted roster, you can add multiple sections or rosters into that course. If you need to add students manually to a course, you can do that in this area where it says manual enrollments by clicking this plus button. What I want to do at this point is jump over to a sample screenshot to describe what teachers will see when they click the plus button for aligned sections. So this is a sample, it's a screenshot that we're going to use of a teacher that clicks that plus symbol, and they have a drop-down menu of all of their sections that are available in Teacher Tools from Infinite Campus. And this is going to look a little different than what teachers may have saw last school year, so I want to just point out a few things. For this example, we have a teacher that teaches multiple class periods of the same subject. And some of the data that we're getting from Infinite Campus is the name of the course. The P represents what period of the day it is. So for homeroom, the period is homeroom, HRM. For this physical science year-long honors class, these are students in period 3. You'll also notice that there's another section of students in period 3 right here. What this denotes for teachers is that they have more than one roster for that class period, and they can bring both of these into the same Canvas course. As a matter of fact, in this example, the teacher could bring all of these, all class periods, into the same course if they choose, since it is the same subject all day and can teach from one Canvas course. The next thing that I want to denote is the teacher will see his or her last name in this area, and it is the primary teacher's last name. If you have a co-taught class or a roster with a secondary teacher included, their name will not show here. The final thing I'll point out is the number in the parenthesis. The number in the parenthesis is the number of enrollments that will be added from the section. And we like to make sure that people understand that this is the total number. It includes student and teacher roles. So this number could possibly be 12 students plus 1 teacher. It also could be 11 students plus 1 teacher plus 1 co-teacher. That information is presented to the teacher once they select a roster. They'll then be presented with a screen that shows a list of everyone that will be included and what their role is. So, once teachers have followed the steps that are presented here in the blog to enroll their rosters or enroll their sections into their Canvas class, then they will be ready to set things up for grade passback. All right, so now let's talk about getting ready and preparing for grade passback. So what is grade passback? Grade passback is the ability to pass grades from Canvas into Infinite Campus. This is a one-way feed. Nothing from Infinite Campus is pushed into Canvas, so it's a one-way pass. Grades in Canvas can be pushed or passed into Infinite Campus. This process is optional, and there are very specific steps that you must take as a teacher to have this option available for you. It's also good to note and share with your teachers that if they choose to use grade passback, they decide when to pass grades from Canvas into Infinite Campus, and they also decide what grades to pass from Canvas into Infinite Campus. In this video, we are only going to go through the steps to prepare Canvas and Infinite Campus for this possibility. In later blog posts, we will talk about the actual process and the ins and outs of grade passback. So in this blog post that's called Preparing Canvas for Grade Passback to Infinite Campus, one thing that I'm going to note is that as a prerequisite, you have to use teacher tools to enroll your students. If you do not use teacher tools and select your sections from teacher tools, grade passback will not be an option for you. I'll also note that grade passback is going to be an option that is probably going to be most of interest to our middle and high school teachers at this point. If you are an elementary school teacher that's using the elementary interface, you will have the possibility to use this current school year. For other elementary school teachers, we'll talk about using grade passback for next school year. All right, so there are a few things that you have to do to get this ready to roll, and we have accordions within our blog post to help you do these things. The first two steps are items that you need to do within Infinite Campus. So I'm going to go ahead and open the first one. And this is simply to identify what your grading categories are in Infinite Campus. Now this can vary by grade level, it can vary by school, and sometimes it can even vary by teachers. But the most important thing that we want to share with teachers in this part of our blog post is how to identify the grading categories. So the steps to identify them are the same, even if people have different grading categories. In this video clip, what we are showing is that a teacher will go to Gradebook, they'll go to Settings, they'll click Categories. This is the area where a teacher finds their grading categories. And that is what a teacher needs to note. They may have two, they may have one, they may have several, but the most important thing is that they know what those grading categories are. That information is going to be important in a few minutes when we get into Canvas. The next thing that needs to be done within Infinite Campus is to set the default standard grading task. This is something that a teacher will actually go in and modify within the gradebook, and this video shows how to do that. And in this video, we're only talking about one area, and that is the default standard grading task. Within the gradebook, the teacher will go back to Settings and they will click on Non-Campus Assignments. And then in this drop-down menu, they will need to select something here. For most high schools, it's going to be semester average. For middle schools, if you are not a Carnegie unit teacher, you will have something different, and it more than likely will say something about 9 weeks. This is something that we are asking BLaST leaders to kind of help us with and help your teachers with to see exactly what is in that drop-down menu and what should be selected here. The reason that we're going into Infinite Campus and making this little modification is so that when grades come back, or when we pass grades from Canvas into Infinite Campus, that it will automatically know what grading task or default standard to use. All right, moving on, we're ready to make a few modifications in our Canvas course at this point. So we know what our grading categories are, and we have made this change in Infinite Campus to set the default standard and grading task. So what we need to do within Canvas now is we're going to open up our course, and there are more details about this in a guide that's hyperlinked here. And we want to make our assignment groups match what our grading categories were in Infinite Campus. So for this blog post example, we identified summative and formative. So we are going into our Canvas course, and we are making 2 assignment groups called summative and 1 called formative. And the last step that's here in this blog post gives directions on how to set up the sync. And these steps are also completed through the assignment portion of the Canvas course. And these only need to be set up 1 time at the beginning of the school year. There's more details on this video, also hyperlinked here, but we are setting each section of our course. Those are the sections that were brought in through Teacher Tools to the grading category that it needs to go to, summative and formative in this case. These are the steps to prepare and get ready to pass back grades from Canvas to Infinite Campus. In a few days, we will prepare some more documentation for that actual syncing process, and those steps, guides, video clips, etc. will be posted to our blog as well. For this chapter, we'd like to review some communication tools, suggestions, and best practices with everyone. If you are a returning BLaST leader, this will probably be a review for you, but for those of you that are new, we wanted to make sure that we provide some information to talk about communication tools that are available specifically in Canvas and Remind. One rule of thumb to remember is that for Canvas, the communication in Canvas is really instructionally minded. You have students enrolled in courses with assignments, announcements, and different types of communication within Canvas should be very specific to students and their instructional needs. Remind is a more holistic tool that is made to meet the needs of communication with the community as a whole. So when you think about broad announcements that you want parents to receive and other members of the community, Remind will be one of the best tools suited for that. So what we have here for you are 2 slide decks that we've prepared that you can use to update your staff, remind your staff, or train new staff members. The first slide deck is Canvas Communication Tools for Teachers. We prepared this slide deck for you that you can use, and we've got speaker notes at the bottom on certain slides for you, and I'll just click through these quickly. There's basically 3 types of communication tools within Canvas. You have announcements, your calendar, and your inbox. And we go through each segment, and as you can see, we put notes in to help you as you relay these messages to your teachers at your school. As always, if you have questions about any of these materials, accessing them, if something isn't clear, please don't hesitate to reach out to Greg and I at elearning@hallco.org or in our BLaST team. The second presentation that we have available for you all to help with guiding and training teachers is Remind and preparing for a new school year. Once again, this may be a review for folks that have been BLaST leaders before, but I do want to point out a few things to everyone. And of course, these are things that we would like for you to also relay to teachers during the beginning of the school year. As a reminder, we do have a full sync with Infinite Campus for Remind. Teacher accounts, student accounts, parent accounts, rosters are all being pushed from Infinite Campus into Remind. So we have to make sure that the data in Infinite Campus is correct, specifically for parent accounts and their phone numbers and things like that. So we want to encourage parents to update their contact information in Remind, and the beginning of the school year is a perfect time to do that. We then have some recommendations for how to use Remind in elementary school, middle and high school. And then on these other slides, we just have directions to help teachers with how to claim their new classes in Remind and how things are archived. So as a reminder, since we are syncing rosters, when your teachers log in the first time this new school year, they're going to be presented with a page of all of their new courses or classes, and they'll need to select which ones that they want to use this school year. All of the others will go into an archive, but the good news is the archive can be accessed from the account page, and those can be activated or reactivated if needed. And there are some screenshots on how to do these things throughout this presentation. You can also encourage your teachers to personalize their class by changing the name, by changing the icon, and they can even change the class code if they would like to. And one thing that we like to point out to teachers is that you can send one message to multiple classes. So in this example, you may have a second period English class, but you may have multiple rosters for that class. So you can select those multiple classes and you can send one message to all students, parents, other members of the Remind class. There's been a little bit of change with the parent accounts that I do want to take a few minutes to point out. Parent accounts are coming over from Infinite Campus, like I stated before. Those accounts are being populated with contact information, but we would encourage you to help parents to download the app. They're going to have more functionality if they download the app onto their cell phones, and there's a link with directions. One big change that we're excited about is going to be this slide we've added here, new features for preferred languages. So in the past, teachers have sent out a message in English, and then they've translated it and sent the same message out to parents in Spanish. So essentially, everybody would receive two messages, one in English, one in Spanish. Remind has something now that's called preferred language. We are sending preferred language over from Infinite Campus. So if your parents have denoted that they are Spanish speakers, then their Remind account is going to automatically be set for Spanish as their preferred language. You can change your language as well, and I have a link to an article that tells you how you can set up or change the preferred language for parents if need be. Basically, what this is going to do is handle all the translations for you in the background. If you send one message out in English, your parents that have selected or you have put down that they prefer a different language, they'll receive that message in their preferred language. The beauty of this is also that if you have conversations turned on or replies, a teacher can receive a reply from that parent, and that parent may type that reply in Spanish, but the teacher will receive it in his or her preferred language. So that message would come back to the teacher, let's say in English. So this is a big upgrade that we want to make sure that everyone knows about. There's nothing that you have to do on your teacher account except know that preferred language is now an option, and that if it needs to be edited, that teachers can do that using this article that we've listed here. The last slide that we have pertains to middle and high school students, and it links to a video showing students how to tie their personal phone or Remind account through the app to their Hall County account. We used this last year, so nothing has really changed about this, but we wanted to make sure that it was available. Once again, if you have any questions at all about these communications tools, Canvas or Remind, please be sure to reach out to Greg and I on Teams or through our email.
Hey everyone, in this chapter we're going to be talking about Canvas Studio. And Studio is something that was new to our district last year, and it has proven to be a popular and powerful tool. Studio is a tool that is used for screencasting, and it can be used by both teachers and students. Teachers can quickly make a screencast of something and easily add it to their Canvas courses or distribute it to their students through a link or by embedding it wherever they need it. But Studio, again, is a screencasting tool. On the student side, students can use screencasting to create a video of something on their screen to submit for a Canvas assignment, or is just another way to demonstrate their understanding. So how do students and teachers access Studio? So Studio is available on the main nav bar in Canvas. It's here on the left. And when a user clicks Studio, they'll be brought to their Studio dashboard. It will show all their creations so far in Studio. And I'm not going to go into those details, but we just wanted to remind you about Studio and how to access it. And then we have a little slideshow here to help you with redelivering this to your teammates and how to access Studio. When we add new teachers to the Studio training platform, it will generate an email to them. This is kind of what the header will look like, and the body of the email will look like this, and they'll just need to set a password. Once they set a password, they'll be able to click this link in the Canvas help area. So they'll click back in Canvas, they'll click help, and then Studio training, and they'll be asked to log in. That's where they'll input the new password they set. And then once they log in, they'll be brought to their dashboard where the Studio training course will be available to them, and they can complete that course and at their own pace, if you will. I'll also remind you that the Canvas guides in the help menu. So again, we're going back to the help area. If we click search the Canvas guides, and then we navigate to the Studio area, you can kind of see the breadcrumb trail here. Anything and everything you want to know about Studio is available in these guides, and it's super helpful. And I would certainly share that with your teammates as well. So yeah, that's just a quick, brief reminder about Studio, and we hope everyone continues to enjoy using Studio in 22-23. Thanks. Forgot to say that if you have any new teachers that we accidentally miss who say, I can't access the Studio training, just send us an email with their name and email address to els@hawco.org, and we'll be happy to get them added. Thanks. Hey everyone, in this chapter we're going to be discussing becoming a parent observer in Canvas. You can see here on the screen that I'm starting at the Canvas guides or the instructor guides, and anytime we can, we like to point users, whether that be parents, teachers, or students, to the actual guides from Canvas because we know these are going to be the most up to date. We all know how often and quickly these apps and things update, so this information is always going to be the most accurate. So whenever you can, we encourage you to point parents to this information if they have questions about being an observer in Canvas. So those guides are always there under the help menu. We also know that some of our information has to be a little bit customized for Hawk County parents. So I want to show you where that information is available to you. So I'm going to switch over to our teams. So our 22-23 BLaST team, and again, this tab at the top, like we discussed earlier, is our Google Drive resource folder for BLaST 22-23. In this folder, one of the subfolders is called Canvas. So if we open that folder, you will find information on how parents can create a parent account in Canvas. These steps will be available in both English and Spanish. And these files have been updated to reflect the latest versions of the apps, if you will. So option one, by far the easiest way to create a parent account is with the mobile app. And this walks parents through how to do that, including the customized parts for Hawk County schools. And then if a smartphone is not an option, option two does walk parents through how to do this, say on a computer. This could be a Chromebook, anything that has a modern browser. And so I know some of you like to set up Chromebooks for parents to do this at open house and that type of thing. So these directions can help with that. And again, this is available in our Microsoft Teams on the tab at the top in the BLaST 22-23 folder. These files are also linked below our video in our list of what's available. So also quickly want to point out that if you have any Teachers in your building who are also parents of Hall County students, that can be a little bit tricky, and they can go to this URL that you see here to manage who they are observing. So if they need to add another one of their children, or if they need to remove someone, maybe a child that's graduated or something like that, this URL is not, it's not, you don't see it a lot in the guides or anything, but it will show you who you're observing and allow you to manage that a little bit easier for our Hall County teachers who are also parents of children in the system. So yes, so please let us know, els@hallco.org, if we can help you with anything related to becoming observers in your for your parents in Canvas. So thank you. Everyone, this chapter is all about the Canvas syllabus feature. So we're starting here on this HCSD guidance for book collections document. This information on this document will be shared with teachers at some point earlier or early in the school year. And we noticed language like this, that they're asking for some specific information to be posted on course syllabi in Canvas. And again, we saw this, this statement should be listed on all the syllabi. So as that information is out there, we thought it might be a good idea to remind everyone about the syllabus feature in Canvas. So below our video, we have a link to the Canvas guide about how to use the syllabus as an instructor. It gets very detailed about how to use the syllabus, so we encourage you to share that link. And then we also have a link to a video version of those same directions, how to use the syllabus feature as an instructor. So let's just walk through a little bit of that. So this is just a test course that I have. You'll notice syllabus is one of the navigational buttons in the course, and currently it's hidden in this course. So teacher can see it, students can't. But generally the way the syllabus feature works, you have a course description up top. So if teacher already has a syllabus written, they could just copy and paste it here. They could embed it from Google Drive, whatever works best for them. And it's going to show in this content area up top. And the syllabus feature also looks at any due dates and assignments in the course, and it populates this course summary list at the bottom. So it's going to kind of make it important for due dates to be present. It certainly would be more helpful to our families if due dates are present on the syllabus. And then you'll notice the corresponding calendar here in the upper right. There's also an area, I'm cutting that off for you guys, that shows any weighted assignments in the course and how they're weighted. This particular sandbox course doesn't have any weights in it, but those would also show on the syllabus to help people get a summary of how the assignments are weighted. Now, let's say teacher only wanted this part up here, sort of the overview, to show, and not all these dates and the weighted assignments. So if we click edit, we'll notice there is a little checkbox for show course summary. So if we uncheck that and then click update, then it's only going to show this overview that they put up here. So some teachers may like that better, and that way they wouldn't have to show the due dates and the weights and all that good stuff. So that's just an option for you in the syllabus feature. So we hope this helps, and if this is something that will help teachers get that information out there that's on this document, we just wanted to remind everyone of the syllabus feature built within Canvas. Thank you. Hey, I forgot one very important detail here. Once the syllabus is set like the teacher wants it, the teacher would need to go into the course settings and go to the navigational settings for the course, and they would need to make syllabus visible so that students would be able to access it. So I forgot to mention that, and that's important. And again, if you need any help with the syllabus feature of Canvas, then please let Danica or I know. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. In the concluding chapter, we are going to touch on support. There are 3 areas of support that we want to talk with all of you about, to remind you about, and also to encourage you to remind all of your teachers and your staff at your school about. The first one that we want to spend a little bit of time talking about is Canvas and the support options that are available to all teachers with Canvas. Greg?
Yep. So in Canvas, we are blessed in our district to have access to Tier 1 support. So in Canvas, most of that can be accessed through what we call the Help menu in Canvas, which is on the main nav bar in Canvas. So if a user clicks the Help button, they will see various support options, one of which I'll point out are the Canvas guides. I already have that loaded in a new tab here, and we encourage you to encourage your teachers to explore the guides. They can do keyword searches, or a helpful way to navigate the guides is just by clicking on the role that you have. So if you're an instructor, if you click there, it'll take you to various components of help within the Canvas guide. So a plethora of information available in the Canvas guides. All right, also in the Help menu, the support hotline is always available 24/7. So if the teacher can get access to a phone and call, they're real good about answering, and they will create a support ticket and follow up with you on email to see that issue through to conclusion. And sometimes it's hard to talk on a phone, and it's easier to use the chat feature. So that's available as well to our teachers to get help, immediate help through the Canvas support. And then finally, we also have access to a training services portal, and think of that as trainings that are scheduled that a teacher can register for. Again, I have that open in a new tab. You can see the trainings for July. So today is the 26th. So maybe I'm looking up what's coming for the 27th. And if this is something that interests me, I could register for it here and make plans to attend that session. So those are all of the support options available to you in Canvas. And now Danica is going to share with you about maybe what to do if you need some support with something else in your classroom.
Thanks, Greg. So please remind teachers and share with new teachers, encourage everyone to take advantage of what we're calling technology support, or it's also known as Incident IQ. This is accessible to all of our teachers and users in Launchpoint, and Greg's showing you now the easiest way to find it is doing that keyword search in the top right. If you start typing technology, you're going to see technology work orders. So if you can help us to let all teachers know this is available to them, and that teachers can put in their own work orders for themselves by clicking on this link. Greg's got this pulled open in another tab. Your users will have a page that looks similar to this, where they can create new tickets, and they can also keep track of other tickets that they have put in. This would be for any type of software that they may have issues with, that they can't find answers to in the BLaST folder. It's also for hardware. And in this area that Greg's in now, this is where a teacher would select what type of ticket that they need to create, and the wizard will walk them through the steps. So if you can just remind teachers about this, share it with new teachers, and encourage folks that they can come and actually help themselves in this area as well. One of the last things that we want to talk about in a way of support is the eLearning blog. And Greg is going to open that up and talk a little bit about it now.
All right, thanks, Danica. So the eLearning blog is a place where we post information that we need to sort of be around for a while. So if information that we need to get out is something that's temporary or is kind of short-lived, that's something we'd probably post on Teams and in an announcement. But if it's something that we know that we're going to have to refer to multiple times throughout a school year, that's probably something we're going to put on our blog. And so this is the homepage that you're seeing now. But if you wanted to see all of our posts, the fastest way to do that is just by clicking on recent posts here in the upper right. And you'll see the posts kind of in chronological order as to when they were published. And so that's our blog. And again, this is where we post information that we know we're going to have to reference throughout the school year.
So in conclusion, we want to thank everyone for their time and their ability and just their want to help everyone in their school. Thank you for being a BLaST leader. Thank you for helping us with blended learning and supporting the teams in your school. We look forward to working with all of you this year. Please reach out to us on Teams. Also, you feel free to email us when you need to. And just as a reminder, everything that we went through in today's video that we reference with some sort of presentation, something like that, you'll be able to find below this video. Once again, we appreciate all that you do for those in your school, and we look forward to working with you in this new school year.
Thank you.